Well, it's a lukewarm reaction to Hawaii's jobless numbers for a number of reasons. And when you add into the mix what economists call the fiscal cliff, the financial future looks particularly grim. But to help make sense of it all and to give us some hope, hopefully, Dr. Carl Bonham joins us this morning. He's the executive director for the University of Hawaii Economic Research Organization, known as UHERO. Good morning to you, Carl. Thanks for coming in. So, okay, Hawaii's unemployment rate fell from 6.3% to 6.1%. We don't exactly see dancing in the streets. Why?
Well, it's partly because the reason that it's falling is not because lots of people are finding new jobs. Actually, from July to August, the number of people employed actually went down. It's just that the labor force fell faster. And so the unemployment rate's a messy statistic. It always puzzles me why we're so fascinated with it, because it's hard to interpret because there's all these different things going into it. So this was not wonderful news, unfortunately.
So, well, the policymakers have tried to do their best. Last week we heard the U.S. Federal Reserve and the European Central Bank both made big policy commitments to support the global economy. That's not going to help in all this?
Well, it will. Actually, we have a piece up on our website about those policy actions, and those were big policy actions. But one of the reasons they're doing that is how weak the economy is, particularly in Europe. And the other reason is that we're facing this fiscal cliff that you mentioned in the introduction. And that's coming up at the beginning of next year.
So the fiscal cliff is what exactly?
Well, essentially, this is a term that was actually coined by Ben Bernanke to sort of describe the problem that he faced in monetary policy, was that the fiscal authorities weren't really doing their jobs. So we're facing the end of the Bush tax cuts. We're facing the end of a payroll tax holiday. So all of us in our checks, assuming that we're working, are getting a reduction in our taxes right now. We're facing the end of extended unemployment benefits, and now, starting in January also, sequestration. So this is cutting federal government spending in just about all sectors.
So we're going to see a Thelma and Louise thing come
January. So we could drive off the cliff, or Congress could decide to turn the car around and, face the problem. And if we drive off the cliff, what we're looking at is another recession. I mean, the Congressional Budget Office has already said that if we follow all that current law, the economy is going to shrink by about 1.5% for the first half of 2013.
Is there any optimism then at this point?
Well, sure. I mean, that's not the rational thing to do, right? So the optimism is that it's in nobody's best interest to do that. Mm-hmm. So while it's not going to be pretty, in our forecast, we are operating under the assumption that Congress will deal with this and will act responsibly.
All right. And we're going to have a special guest coming up for UHERO. Someone's going to be speaking for you guys.
Oh, yeah. I mean, one of the alternatives is to do what Christina Romer refers to as, what does she refer to it as? Compassionate deficit reduction. And she wrote a piece in the New York Times on this about a week ago, and she's coming to Hawaii to speak at the UHERO Forum in October.
That's October 29th. And Dr. Romer used to be a economic advisor for President Obama.
That's right.
And I heard she's a very frank speaker, so it could be very interesting. All right. Thank you, Carl, for coming in. Mm-hmm. And find out what else the economists at UHERO are tracking just by heading to their Facebook page. And you can also find a link to their website on the As Seen On section of KITV.com. We'll be right back.